contacting the defendant. So Mr. Huff was going to do the best he could and perhaps make an oral recommendation. He has provided the sentencing guidelines that we use in drinking driving cases. I think she's a B3.
From the very start, Elizabeth sets the tone. She didn't think she'd be arrested, but the courtroom is about to dissect every decision that led here. Buckle up, because this one's a roller coaster of legal nuance and raw emotion.
Good morning, Mr. Bush.
Oh, Judge.
What would you like me to know here?
Elizabeth was in your system previously. I believe it was in 2012, if my notes are correct. So we have upwards of a 12-year gap between her last drinking and driving matter. She shared with me today that she's concerned that attempting to do probation services would probably end unsuccessfully. Her main reason is she has problems passing urine into a cup in front of a third person and expects that she would have an ongoing issue trying to meet any testing requirements by the court. She did lose her job, but she has secured new employment at TELUS, and that's the OPTALIS. I believe that's the nursing home in Three Rivers. She shared that she has done orientation, she's been fingerprinted, and she's had her physical completed, and she's been accepted to get into a housekeeping position that would start either sometime this week or next week. She would work from 11 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 p.m., including some weekends. She is a single mother. She has 3 children at home, ages 16, 14, and 12. She recognizes coming here today that her reticence to complete a probation would probably result in a jail sentence. And she tells me that she's made arrangements for childcare for the children if and when she has to serve incarceration. Mr. Huff has provided me with a chart for the recommendation, which shows the minimum sentence.
The defense attorney is playing the sympathy card hard here. Single mom, new job, childcare responsibilities. He's asking for a downward departure, basically, a lighter sentence than guidelines suggest. But will that fly when her back was sky high?
For her would be 7 to 9 days, I believe, if I'm reading it correct. I'm asking the court to consider a downward departure. I know there's a strong feeling that she would have to spend some time in custody, but I would say an additional weekend would be sufficient to address punishment in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Agnes, do you have any input here?
Your Honor, I guess my significant concern is the blood alcohol level of 0.19, plus the fact that even though this isn't her first rodeo, she hasn't undertaken any substance abuse counseling or got lined up with any 12-step programs. The jail time and everything else in the rec on a 3B scale, that's not my biggest issue. I think she really needs to be on the probation and she needs to get some substance abuse counseling. There are alternatives to urine testing. They could probably utilize a PBT because I don't think drugs are necessarily her substance of choice. It appears in this circumstance to be alcohol instead. And, you know, you put somebody in jail and it doesn't do them any good. You put them in a program, there's a possibility that it might stick this time.
Thank you. Ms. Hodson, I'm going to give you a chance to tell me what you want me to know, but I want to hear from Mr. Huff first. What's your thought here?
Well, Your Honor, I think this is an odd case. The case facts in the police report read a particular way. Obviously, Ms. Hodson was charged with operating while impaired is what she's pleading to today. She does have that prior offense from
my notes.
2012. The blood alcohol was relatively high. But and
No, it was a no contest to OUIL,
Okay.
not charge high BAC.
This is a major twist. The probation officer is openly recommending jail time. Why? He believes probation will fail because of Elizabeth's past trauma with supervised testing. That's a huge red flag for the court.
Right.
That's correct, Judge.
So, regardless, when it comes to what actually happened that day, the police report isn't able to shed a whole lot of light on that. And the only one that we're able to get much information from is Miss Hodson herself. So fortunately, we were able to connect yesterday late in the afternoon. According to her, this was a bad situation in which she had gotten into an argument with a friend. They had started consuming alcohol at her house at the apartments down the road. And she indicated she had 2 Bud Light Platinums. The argument broke out. She asked the friend to leave. And she said that she routinely goes to this Jefferson boat launch park in Three Rivers to kind of meditate and calm down. So she said there was no exception that night. She went over there. There was text message exchange still going on in which there was heated communication back and forth. And there was a comment that was made that was had to do with some self-harm potentially. Ms. Hodson indicates that she didn't actually mean that in a literal sense, but that's why the police got involved. There was some family, her children showed up down there, her ex-boyfriend showed up down there to check on her to make sure she was okay. And there was an altercation. There was something that drew attention to the other individuals who were at the boat launch. At that point in time, they called the police. The police show up. Miss Hodson's obviously very intoxicated at a 0.19. They observed several signs of intoxication. She indicated to the police that she had driven there. However, she maintains that she drank more after she got there, and that her intent was not to drive home, but rather to get a ride with somebody else. So my initial inclination in forming a recommendation would have been towards a period of probation, because as Mr. Rognes pointed out, the case facts scream of a potential for substance abuse. For our substance abuse issue. Miss Hodson holds that she doesn't have a substance abuse issue. She drinks weekly, socially, on the weekends in a responsible fashion. She doesn't routinely drive while intoxicated. However, when I talked to her about the requirements of probation, she expressed the same thing that her attorneys bring, I guess, to the forefront today, which is that she had some experience with their reporting center in the past. She feels that there's a significant trauma there, and she already has struggled with giving a witness specimen for a urinalysis. She doesn't believe that she'll be able to comply with those terms. I understand what Mr. Rognes was asking for here today in the form of a preliminary breath test. However, those tests really only go back a few hours. And so I guess the integrity of the probation would be severely compromised if we can't utilize urinalysis. The only exception would be if we could utilize some sort of Intoxilock or some sort of portable breathalyzer, but that carries a significant cost. But I don't believe that Ms. Hodson would be able to afford being a single mother supporting 4 children. So my recommendation is just that we work out some sort of alternative and we venture back into the realm of jail. If she indicated to me when I spoke to her as well that she has this new job with the facility there in Three Rivers. She's not exactly sure when she's going to start that or when she's going to be asked to start that, but she's in the process of being employed because she's gone in for I believe a drug screen and some other stuff that's formalizing the hiring of her. My other concern that I forgot to mention is she doesn't really have a valid traditional phone as well, which is always problematic in my experience. I mean, maybe she would get that in a matter of time, but she's utilizing like a text now or a Wi-Fi free service where contact would be relatively difficult as well. So my recommendation in this circumstance is probably just going to cut to the chase, and rather than drag out a probation that's going to end in failure and have to come back in front of the court, that we simply schedule some jail.
All right. Are you Tony?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I thought. So Ms. Hodson, as Matt indicated, there was not a lot of driving the police, you live at Lockport Townhouses and you drove to the Jefferson boat launch, that's probably half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile. But it's midnight and you're very intoxicated. There were people there and everybody's yelling and screaming. Kids are crying. What I got the impression is that you walked out into the river. Everybody was all wet.
No, that never
Um,
happened.
No, on the end of the dock. Ask how she got there. She told me she drove there. And you were with Mr. Edwards at your apartment and then left and then your kids called Mr. Childers to come there?
He had the children, he left, he had the children, they were out with him. And I went to the dock. He kept texting me, he was saying some nasty things to me and, I was just simply sitting on the dock. I never entered the water. Nobody entered the water.
Okay.
So he went to go get Tony. And they all packed in the car.
Mr. Edwards went to get Tony?
Yeah,
All right, well, who was texting you, Tony or Mr. Edwards?
Edwards.
Okay. All right.
So they went and they all packed into the car, and I don't know why all the kids got into the car at that time, but they did, and they arrived to the dock. I was sitting at the end of it, and of course, kids are kids, they were rambunctious, they were like, oh, wow, look at that, and they were being loud. And Mr. Edwards was, screaming at me just to get in the car and, just being ridiculous. And so as I was gathering my stuff to go into Tony's car, that's when the police arrived. He had asked me if I was drinking on the dock and I told him no, but I was.
Yeah, you told the officer no. They found there were some Monacos in your car.
That was old.
Okay, so that didn't
I
have
didn't
anything to
have
do with,
that, yeah.
what were you drinking on the dock?
I had vodka with simply limeade, half and half in a water bottle.
Okay. Maybe.
And I had kicked it off the dock because I didn't want to get in trouble.
All right, so whatever was there ended up in the river.
Yeah,
Now, that's not a good place to go in the water.
I didn't go in the water.
Well, no, but if you'd fallen in,
Mhm.
the dam is right there. And I can think of 3 people that drowned there. The current is very strong.
The judge is highlighting how dangerous this could have been. Midnight, near a dam, heavily intoxicated. This isn't just about drinking and driving. One wrong move, and this could have turned tragic in seconds.
And pulls up to the dam. And
Yeah, but that was part of the basis for the no contest, is not entirely sure how much alcohol was in her
Yes,
system
she-
when she
before or
got
after,
there, how
yes.
much she added.
well,
to
what
the
the report says, Mr. Edwards said they were drinking for several hours before she left. So it isn't like you were out cruising around, but you were trying to get away from a situation. And this isn't like Disneyland. There's some nefarious stuff that goes on at this park after midnight. People are down there, there are drugs being bought and sold. It isn't people just down there looking at the moonlight. But you weren't doing anything really, except there were some other people there and you were quite drunk, and that's not safe. So as Matt said, there's a substance abuse issue that underlies this more than a driving issue. And they ended up, because you were intoxicated, you weren't cooperative, they ended up impounding your car, which probably cost you several $100s.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I didn't know that they were going to arrest me that night. I didn't think that I was going to get arrested. I wasn't behind the vehicle. So he didn't read my rights. He just said, turn around. And me being uncooperative was because he wanted me to blow into the into-
preliminary breath test.
Yes, and I felt like I didn't need to. I didn't have to because I wasn't behind the wheel, so he wasn't very happy about that. So he told me to stand by the car, and he went to go speak to the other people, and I slowly walked over to go talk to Tony, and he yelled at me to stay by the car, which I really was kind of confused as to what was going to result. So I had a designated driver there. I was
Who is
going to
that?
leave with him,
Tony.
Tony.
Well, what the report said. Now, they don't have to read you their rights. Somebody learned that from television in 1972. They have to read you their rights if they're going to want to use things that you said after you're placed under arrest. They did read you your advice of rights regarding a chemical test. Here's what it says: disorderly at the boat launch by Riverside in which a male is intoxicated and there is a female in the water trying to get away from the male. The caller believes there are 2 males now and there are at least 3 children. So these people were there and they thought you were in the water. As I pulled up to the scene, I observed 3 vehicles near the boat launch and a group of people near the dock. The group included kids and 2 adult males. The adult, Sergeant Britton, went to speak with an adult female standing on the dock by herself. So according to these callers, at least one of the men was drunk, which probably was Mr. Edwards, which is why he got Mr. Childers to drive him there. I spoke with Childers. Childers stated he'd been approached by Elizabeth's children. They were concerned about her. He was able to track her phone to the boat launch where they arrived to make sure she was all right. Nobody put any hands on anyone. She was just yelling at him, telling him to leave her alone. He said that's how she gets when she's intoxicated. So a lady was there, a lady and her boyfriend were there, and they called the police. Said when they got there, you were already yelling, and I guess they thought you were in the water. The vehicle that Hodson had been driving was towed and impounded by Shears Towing. I tried asking Hodson who she wanted the vehicle turned over to or what she wanted done with the vehicle. Hodson wouldn't tell me what she wanted done with the vehicle. The car was parked in a city park that was closed. The vehicle was unlocked with the keys inside the vehicle, along with Hodson's purse and other personal belongings. Due to the fact that Hodson wouldn't tell me what she wanted done with the vehicle, I wasn't able to secure the vehicle, and I chose to impound it. That's how the car ended up impounded. So Mr. Childers apparently had Mr. Edwards with him. Mr. Edwards was probably too drunk to drive a car. So anyway, what a summertime fiasco on July 26th at 10:30 at night. Probably was a nice night till all this went down. All right. So as I indicated, it's more of a substance abuse issue than a driving issue. The problem is you're going to lose your driver's license. Do you understand that? There'll be a period of time that you won't be able to drive.
Will it be revoked or
It'll be,
restricted?
no, your other conviction is more than 7 years old. So this is treated by the Secretary of State as a first. So I believe you'll be suspended for 90 days. Which makes logistical problems for you. But you did the other probation. It was a long time ago, 2011. I remember it. You were very compliant. You did everything was asked of you. You successfully completed your probation. You did 1 weekend and then you did another weekend. So you did 4 days jail. You don't wish to be on a probation. I'm not gonna compel it. You don't wish to do treatment. I don't think you wish to stop drinking. But I'm not gonna try to micromanage your circumstance. How long were you in jail here? Did they take you to jail or, because I couldn't tell?
Yes.
How long were you in
was-
jail?
I believe I was picked up at 12:30 and I was released at 7:30 in the morning.
All right. This was written under state statute rather than Three Rivers ordinance. And again, I don't know why, how or why this, if it was a second, I guess must be why it's under state statute. I'm gonna order 5 days jail, credit 1, leaving 4 days to serve on weekends, which will be scheduled by the probation department. I'm gonna make the fine $100 rather than $500 because you had to pay to get your car out of impound. $75 crime victims' rights fee, $50 state minimum fee, $100 screening fee, and $150 attorney fee. I do $120 police reimbursement to TRPD. Let's add that up. I'm not gonna do the victim impact panel.
Your Honor, she did the victim impact panel in 2000.
I believe she did, yeah. Anyway, I'm glad nobody fell in the water or got sucked into the dam or this started out as something and then just evolved into a great big mess. $595. Do a payment plan.
The verdict is in: 4 more days in jail, reduced fines, and no probation. The judge is essentially saying, I won't micromanage your recovery, but you're still facing consequences. Do you think this was fair, or too lenient given her history?
$50 per month. Paid all your fines and costs. You don't have anything. In fact, you hadn't had anything for 13 years. There was nothing in here. I think people were legitimately concerned for your safety. I don't think that like, let's go ruin her life. I think they were concerned. People were intoxicated. People were screaming and yelling. The people in the cemetery probably didn't mind, but the people in the neighborhood probably didn't like hearing you scream and yell. And your kids were upset. And that's an underlying thing to this. Maybe this was an eye opener for you and your family. Mr. Childers and you were separated at that time, but he's been with you at each hearing. So are you guys at least on speaking terms? And
Yes, we're together.
All right. And maybe that's a plus because he's concerned about you too. All right, you go with Matt. He's going to schedule. I don't know what your schedule at Uptalis was, so I wasn't going to try to do it from here. We'll schedule when you're going to do those 4 days in jail. And then you need to do the payment plan with the ladies out at the, I want at least $50 a month. That'd take about 6 months to pay this off. All right, you're good to go.
Thank you.
We'll see you, John.
And just like that, the courtroom moves on. But for Elizabeth, the sentence will ripple through her job, her kids, and her future. What would you have done differently in her shoes? Drop your thoughts below.